Hello, everybody. This is your boy, Papa Top 912, and
Gamer TT911.
we are coming at you with one of our famous recipes. Now, I know it's been a while since we put a recipe out. We had a lot of things going on with life and hadn't really been posting YouTube a lot lately, but we're going to get back in the groove of things. So, today, we're going to be doing, it's a real old-fashioned recipe. It's another one from my grandmother. I'm going to put a couple twists on it of my own, but it's some call it Southern bread pudding. And it's a sweet, wholesome dish. You can eat it. We normally just eat it for dessert after our meal, but if you don't make it too sweet, you can eat it for breakfast, and you can eat it whenever you want to. It's just real good, and it's real cheap and easy for the most part. So I'm gonna go over the ingredients that we're gonna do today. So I got 1 baguette of French bread. I got 2 sticks of butter. And then I got 6 medium eggs. If those were large, I would just use 4 large eggs, but those are 6 medium. And you can see they're different colors. Those are farm fresh eggs right there, straight off the farm. Got some lemon extract over here, pure lemon, pure vanilla extract. Got some ground mace and some ground cinnamon. Now, I'm using mace. If you don't have mace, you can use nutmeg. They both come from the same plant. They have a slightly different flavor profile, but if you don't have the mace, just use the nutmeg. It ain't gonna really make a big difference in the flavor. And then here I got 1 can of sweetened condensed milk, 1 can of evaporated milk, big old can of peaches. Probably I'm gonna use half of those peaches. And then I got a can of crushed pineapples here. And then I have some pecan pieces, some walnut pieces, and some raisins. I'm only going to use 1 box of those raisins and a little bit of those pecans and walnuts. Don't know how much I'll use. It's just when I start putting it in the dish, I'll know when I know. Now, if you notice, one thing I don't have up here is sugar. And that's because, 1, I'm using the sweetened condensed milk, and then I'm using the pineapples and the peaches. All that is sugar in its own right there. So if you don't have the fruit, and if you don't have this condensed milk, you can just use regular milk and just put some sugar in it to sweeten it up how you want it. But this is the flavor profile that I'm working with here, and we're gonna go ahead and get this thing started. And I'm gonna use like 1.5 sticks of this butter in the dish, and then the rest of it, or maybe 1 3/4 sticks, and the rest of it I'm going to use to grease my pan with. So it'll be 2 sticks total, but some of that butter is going to be used to grease the pan, and then the rest of it will be melted down and poured over the dish. So I'm going to go ahead and start getting some stuff prepped up, and after we prep, we'll come back and we'll continue on with this recipe. You start greasing that pan.
With the butter?
Yeah. You got to press hard. You got to grease all up on around the edges and everything. Hold the pan steady and get to greasing. Get to greasing.
Yeah, greasing up this pan. Greasing up the pan.
Boom, boom. Go wash your hands. Get ready for the next. There we got 1 deliciously greased pan, people.
I don't think I need to cut this one.
Nope.
So I'll just go ahead and get these. I'm gonna use lots for it. Okay. This one. Finished up the fruit. I'm gonna dry my hands out.
All right, folks. Welcome back. We've got all the ingredients pretty much prepped up for you now. So we're gonna go over it again. This is that whole loaf of French bread, and this is roughly about how I cubed them, about that size right there, all the way through the whole loaf. And then we have the 6 eggs. They've been broken out of their shells now.
And one of them is completely broken.
Right here we have the peaches. We got them diced up, and then 2 boxes. We actually just went ahead and used 2 boxes of those raisins. They were a little light on the inside, so. Then we got the pineapple back here in the back. 1 can of that crushed pineapple. We got 1 tablespoon of pure vanilla, a half a teaspoon of lemon, and then 1 teaspoon of mace and 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. And then we got the condensed milk, the evaporated milk, and then the melted butter. And that's about 2 3/4 sticks of butter. The other one went to grease the pan. There's the nice grease pan that my little assistant did for me. Don't. We're not in there.
I put my hand in the camera.
All right, so now I'm gonna have my assistant start to whisk up these eggs. And now that butter's melted, but it's still a little warm. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna add that in a little bit later. I'm gonna let her go in and whisk the eggs. Whisk them good.
I'm trying to bust the egg.
You have to whisk in a circle. I told you how to whisk. Yeah. Whisk. Hold the bowl still and whisk.
These 2 stupid eggs. These 2 darn eggs. There you go.
Alright. So she's getting those whisked up. Get y'all in here on the bowl so y'all can see what she's doing here. Yeah, she's whisking those eggs.
I'm ready for the next ingredient.
Now, keep stirring. I'm going to go ahead and pour in the evaporated milk. Keep us. You got to get it blended good. You're at my spot. Then we're going to pour in this woo-hoo, sweet condensed milk.
That's thick. That milk is thick.
Liquid diabetes. Jeez. Keep stirring.
Really? This is starting to smell delicious, y'all. Super duper delicious.
Get all that goodie out that can. Get all that goodie out.
Can't Daddy let me finish and look this back here, please?
No, because it's got raw eggs on it.
It doesn't have raw egg on it.
Alright, keep going.
This egg is thick. It's so thick.
Alright, come on. Hold that bowl. Hold that bowl tight.
Oh, yeah.
You see how that is doing? You gotta get that blended. Get that bottom. Work it, work it, work it, work it, work it. Get all that stuff blended together. Whew, smell like a big batch of eggnog, y'all. And we ain't even put all the ingredients in there yet. Woo-hoo!
Now I smell.
You can just smell it. All right, keep stirring.
To me, it smells like mac and cheese. I don't get it.
Mm-hmm. What I like in this batter too, it's almost like the batter you make for French toast. With some extra ingredients, of course, but that's kind of the basis of where you at with all of this. All right, blend that up good.
My hand's tired. Can you blend a little for me? My hand is so tired.
All right.
He's been cooking for longer than I had, so yeah.
Now we got all that in there. We'll go ahead and, since these pineapples are crushed, I'm going to put those crushed pineapple in there. Because those, they'll stay in suspension a little better than, like, if I put those peaches and raisins, they're just going to fall to the bottom. So I'm going to put the peaches and raisins in separately, and then I'm going to ladle this liquid on top of all of that. And then lastly, put the butter in now.
Can I see?
Got enough ingredients in there, so that, and that butter's cooled off enough so that it's not going to cook those eggs. And then I just stir this until that butter mixes in there. Get me a nice homogeneous mix. And now, there we have that right there. Next thing we're going to do, we're going to transport. We're going to take all of this ooey gooey goodness and we're going to pour it all on top of this bread now.
Ooh, that bread looks good. Walk through the bread, suck it all up.
So we pour that on the bread. Here, put that up. Now I just want to
get all the bread all in.
Stir it a little bit so I can get all that bread covered
in that batter. In that batter. In that batter. In that batter.
And then we're gonna let this bread soak up that juice. We're gonna let it sit for about 5 minutes. As you can see, that bread was real thirsty already, so it's already kind of sucked it up in there. But you don't want to stir it too much because I'm trying to maintain some lumps in the bread. If you stir it, which is fine too, because that's the way my grandmother used to do it. She used to stir hers with her hand, get in there with her hands and mix it up and make it like a paste almost, and then lay it in the pan. And that's equally delicious, but I'm just trying to do something a little bit different. And that's what we're doing. So we're gonna let this rest for about 5 minutes. In the meantime, I'm gonna go check on those nuts. Because remember, I told you I had nuts too. I got those in the oven. I got the nuts in the oven so they can kind of roast and get a nuttier flavor. And I just roasted those with a little bit of that salted butter. Another thing I didn't do, I didn't put any salt in this because I'm using salted butter. If I wasn't using salted butter, maybe I'll use like a teaspoon of salt because, you know, salt does bring out the sweetness in recipes. But since I'm using the salted butter, I don't have to worry about that. So I'm going to check on these nuts now.
It is smelling delicious in here.
And there we go right there. Roasted nuts. They smell stupendous.
It is smelling so delicious in here, y'all.
Put that on the cutting board.
I wish that smelled good. So you could smell how good this is.
So there we are, kind of in the middle right there. We got a couple more minutes, and then we're going to get to the final stages of this whole thing. So we'll be right back shortly. All right, guys, so welcome back. Now we're getting to the final stages of the prep before we start cooking. Again, I got my buttered dish. This is a 9 by 13, give or take. And now I'm just going to pour all of that bread and pineapple and milk mixture. Just pour that into the pan. And I'm going to spread it out evenly. You see we had a little more juice on that side over there. So I'm going to try to rotate it a little bit, put some of the bread down there. It'll continue to soak that up. And then we got this right here. So then you got all your pieces of bread in there now. now we're gonna start dabbling with the peaches and the raisins. So we're just gonna take those and just spread them across the top. And take those peaches, kind of put them in there.
Yeah, I'm back here, so.
Try to get equal coverage with it. Put a few raisins over here. Raisins aren't exactly uniform, but hey, that's enough. A few more. And then I'm just going to take this peach juice and just ladle it across the top. So the last thing I'm going to do now is I'm just going to kind of press that fruit down into the mix so it's like in the center of the bread pudding, so that you don't have a layer of fruit on top and then bread on the bottom. You get bites of fruit throughout the dish. So I'm just kind of pressing it in as such. Smooth that out now. As smooth as I can get it. But be careful not to scratch your the edges of your pan, because you buttered that pan to keep it from sticking, so you don't want to scrape that butter off the edges of your dish. So I got that nice and flat and even there. Y'all can see that, get you in the camera there. Then I'll take my nuts and I will drizzle those across the top. And I actually should have did the nuts before I finished that smoothing out on that thing, so I'm gonna have to smooth it out one more time. I'm gonna shake those nuts in there. It's still a little hot, so I had to get them out that foil, burning my fingers. So I won't press those quite as far in. Just kind of bury them into the top layer. And there we got it. Move them in there a little bit. And then the last thing I like to do, and this is just for a presentation, is you can take your cinnamon and just go across the top. And it adds a little color presentation to it while it's cooking. Now I'm going to cook this in the oven for anywhere from 40 minutes to 60 minutes. I'm gonna cook it on 350 in the oven, and once it gets closer to done or gets done, I'll show you what it looks like and what the consistency is that you're looking for when you want to take it out. So for now, this is the final product before we put it in the oven, and then the next time you see it, it will be coming out of the oven, and I will show you how to test it for doneness and all that coming out of the oven. But it's just like a cake or something, you can just stick a butter knife in there and pull it out. If it comes out clean, then it's done. If it comes out tacky, let it cook a little longer. But that's all you're really trying to do. There it is right there. Now we're gonna put this in the oven. All right, y'all, so see here, we are 45 minutes in, but I can just look at this and tell you that it's not ready. Because see, the edges on the side of the pan, those edges aren't brown, and you don't really see a lot of bubbling coming up out of the dish. And also, if I stick this knife in there, when I pull it out, see, it's wet. That's what I was telling you about how to check the tacky. So I'm going to have to let this here go for at least another 20-30 minutes. So I'm going to reset my timer and just let it keep going. Alright, y'all. Welcome back again here. So now, if you see this bread pudding, you can see the bubbling around the edges. You can see how it's puffed up. Now we're going to do the knife test again. Stick it in. And see, it's a few drops, so it still probably need to cook another 5 minutes. But that's what we're looking for right there. Get those edges bubbling, getting a nice brown crust on the top, and you can see on the side of the dish it started to turn brown there. So I'm gonna let this cook about another 5 minutes, and it should be good to go. All right, y'all, so there she is, the final run on the bread pudding right there. You can see it was puffed up when it was in the oven, but now, you know, the air is kind of gone back out, so it's sunken down. It's back inside of the tray. So I'm just going to cut this with my spoon. It's still hot, so I'm going to hold that right there. And I'm going to just get me a nice little corner. Corner that bread pudding just like that. A little bit more for me. So you can see what it looks like after it's been cut. Actually, I'm just gonna take this camera out the holder here. So. Alright, so you can see right there, that's what it looks like when it's been cut. That's what it looks like on the plate. It's a little hot, so it's not holding its shape good. And I like just take a little dollop of whipped topping on top of it, just like that. And that's what I'm gonna eat. So. Alright, so here's our taste test. First, I'm just going to taste it. I want to taste a piece without the whipped topping on it. Good. Not overly sweet. It's just sweetened from the natural sweetness of the fruits and that condensed milk, but not overly sweet. And I'm going to get a little bit with the whipped topping on it now. And the whipped topping will add just a little more sweet to it. Man, oh man, that's real good, people. So, get us a shot, try it out, and then come back and comment. Let me know how you liked it. But so, that's the end of this recipe. Southern style bread pudding. From my grandmother's kitchen to yours.